You do not need color pencils anymore, correct? Okay.
Got him. Oh, look at
Today
Brody's
we're going to
head.
start learning about dimensional analysis. And dimensional analysis is just a really fancy word for conversion factors. That's all it is. So when we say dimensional analysis, really all we're talking about is converting. And you all had to convert at some point in your life, right? Yes. Okay. Now, when we're working on dimensional analysis, one of the things that you are going to have to do for this activity and during this unit is you're going to have to show your work. Okay? Period. You will have to show your work. So we're going to start by going through our conversion factors. I'm going to leave this chart up here on the board, and I'm going to work on the Interwrite board so that you guys can see so we can do the comparison side by side. So Chris, guess what? Your head's no longer in the way. Okay? Yes, Dylan, now they see you and they don't really care. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to start talking about our conversion factors, and you might want to put some of this stuff actually physically into your notebook as well so that you know. So if you had to go from hours to seconds, how would you do that? If I said that you had 2 hours and I wanted to know how many seconds that was, what would you do? Somebody raise your hand, please. Dylan. You multiply by 60 and by 60. And we all know that, right? Because I said seconds, right? So that makes sense to all of us, right? That Dylan's going to multiply times 60 and then by 60 again. Why, Chris? Why is that what he would do?
Because 60 would get it to a minute, and then 6 minutes.
In 60 minutes and what? Or an hour. Yep, and then what? Right, so you guys are able to do that in your head because you know how many minutes there are in an hour, and you know how many seconds there are in a minute. So for you guys, that's just like, okay, I'm just going to write that down, or I'm going to use my calculator and figure that out real quickly. But what happens when you have to go from pascals to pounds per square inch?
And you are
Pretty much, yep. Okay, but so what do? Well, honestly, if you guys were given a problem that said that you had to translate between pascals and pounds per square inch, what would you do? What's the first thing you would do? Come on, guys, be honest here. What's the first thing you would do?
Google it.
You'd Google it, right? And you'd find on the internet some conversion chart or some conversion formula that you could just enter the numbers in and it would calculate it for you, right? Right?
No, I'll just ask someone.
Nobody else does that? When you guys have to convert between different measurements, you don't just go and find the conversion on the internet and write it down?
I don't do the homework because it's too hard. What do you say?
He doesn't do the homework because it's too hard.
Alright,
Okay, so that is really, in today's world, that's exactly what we would do. We would go online, but you don't have the ability to go online when you're taking the test that you guys are going to have before the Christmas here.
What?
Okay? You don't have that ability to go online to do those math problems. So you need, if you do have the ability to do that, then you have the ability to get a 0 because you're not using your phone.
Who wants me using our phones?
What if I just do the lesson? Because this is going to be due at the end of the hour today. The assignment that you guys are going to have is going to be due when I collect your notebooks. So the longer my time you waste, the less work time you have. Okay, so let's focus on this. So even though we can very quickly do Dylan's math problems between hours and minutes because we're used, and seconds because we're used to those numbers, we don't understand what the conversion factors are for pascals and pounds per square inch. Correct?
Yeah.
So if we sit down, and then the other thing too is what happens when you have multiple, just like our seconds and hours. So today, so let's look at this right now. So this is a simple conversion factor. So if our starting value, so we know our starting value is for our 2 hours. So if we want to go 2 hours to seconds, right? That's what our goal is to get at. So we know that our starting unit, our starting value is 2 what? Hours. So when it says here, it says starting units, you have to put the units down when you do these problems. Then you have your multiplication times a factor. So On your factor, we know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So how do we know what goes on top and what goes on the bottom?
If you want it on the bottom right now, you put hours on the bottom right now. So
Why do you put hours? So they cancel out. But how else do we know what we're supposed to put on the top and bottom? Because you have this factor sheet, right, that we just did. So we know if we go to our factor sheet, Mason, are you paying attention?
yeah.
If we go to our factor sheet, it's a red up here, and that's what we want. And what do we want? We want seconds, but we can't go directly to seconds because we don't know the conversion factor on that. So the first thing we have to do is go to minutes. So we know that we want minutes up here. And if we go back to our chart right here, the blue is the starting units, which is hours. So how many minutes are there in an hour?
60.
Okay, so there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So now, if this is just a simple conversion factor, it would give us the answer of how many minutes there are in an hour, but I want seconds, right? So that means we have to add another one of these pieces here. So in this case, we know that to go to seconds, we need to, or we go to go to minutes, now we need seconds. So now, we go back here on the bottom, and we have blue on the bottom, which is our starting units. And in this case, we know that our starting units are going to be minutes, because we know that we want seconds, correct? So 60, yeah, so we're doing 60 over 1 again, which is going to give us our answer, but our answer has to be in seconds. How much is it?
120 seconds.
No. That's math. That's adding. So 2 times 60 times 60 is 7,220 seconds. Okay? So when Dylan was talking about conversion factors, and the way he was talking about it is my old school way of doing it, and I love the old school way of doing it. So you know that you have hours here and they cross each other out, and you have minutes here and you have minutes here, so they cross each other out, so that leaves you just with seconds. Okay? As what it is. Now, what happens if this is in reverse and we have something like 120 seconds and we want to get that to hours? So we do our conversion factors here. What is it? The blue is what we start with. What are we starting with? What are we starting with for units? Seconds. And what do we want? Minutes, because we're working backwards, right? So we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, right? And then we go back here, and we have minutes, and we want to get to hours, right? Whoops, I should spell hours, right? And how many minutes are there in an hour? If 1 hour is 60 minutes. So in this case, because it's on the bottom, what does this problem become? It becomes 120 divided by 60, then divided by 60 again. Okay? So if the bigger numbers on that bottom were dividing, and I know that's probably the point where I lost most of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to give each one of you, you're going to get 5, 6 sheets with these cards on them. You're going to cut the sheets apart. That's all we're doing is just cutting them apart and making a deck of dimensional analysis cards. So all you are doing is cutting them apart and making a deck of cards. That's it for this second. And I will give you, I think I have enough paper clips or enough little clips for them. But that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put a timer on the clock. It's not gonna take you terribly long to do that. They are not perfectly lined up, so you do have to do each individual sheet. You can't put them together as a group. Okay, what questions do you have? Mason, you got this? Brain break?